get together and see if a temporary connection can be made between the orchards and Great Trails East for the purpose of construction traffic.
I'll second.
Motion by Mike, second by Ron. Motion clear to all members. Any discussion on zoning?
I think it's clear now.
Motion is second. Further discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's all of our public hearings for this evening. Move on to item 6, citizens' comments.
Dick Jankowski.
Dick Jankowski, 7022 51st Avenue. At the last meeting, we had a very interesting presentation, a very good presentation by Kathy and Dean on the restructuring of a segment of the village's debt to the financial advantage of the village. I thought that was very good. It really came into a good discussion, I think, concerning debt and the village finances, which is ongoing and needs to be had. I'm a little nervous sometimes when people use the phrase good debt, as I've heard it thrown around, because from the accounting circles, the opposite of that is bad debt, which means uncollectible. And I'm not so sure that there's not variance in between the two. But I think that village finances is an intricate and sometimes confusing discussion, and it's possible for lots of errors to be made. But nonetheless, I think that we are, so far, in good position, and I'm very pleased to have the presentation. And I hope that the village board and village staff will consider using the website and also the newsletter, perhaps to deal with the issue of debt and explain, for example, that some of this is going to be retired in the short term as well, and we are going to be in a better posture a few years down the road. One of the things that also ties into the village finances, or finances of many municipalities, is maintaining adequate reserves. And I remember, it wasn't more than perhaps a year or so ago, that there was some discussion about the village reserves. Perhaps they might be a little too generous in having reserves. But I think this past winter shows exactly why they're needed. Many communities can't pick up the newspaper today or turn on the television about hearing some story about a community, and there's many of them. Oh, we've run out of salt. Oh, this is a terrible winter. We don't have any money. Well, that happens. But also, we had a number of mild winters where there were under predictions, and there was a surplus. And some communities unwisely spent it, blew it away, didn't sock it away for a snowy day. And now they're coming back and claiming that there's a problem. This is Wisconsin, it's winter, get over it, it happens. And we didn't have reserves, they don't just exist to cover a bond rating and make a bond rating look good. If we don't have reserves, we can wind up behind the 8 ball as some of the other communities. And our village staff, by and large, does a very excellent job with snow removal and ice control, and they certainly deserve our appreciation. But I think the whole financial pie picture is something that many people just don't understand. And it's difficult to understand. It's written in confusing language, and oftentimes it's something only accountants can really get into. But I hope that we can make it simple for people, that perhaps we can have more light, less heat on those issues. Finally, one thing that really has come to the fore very rapidly is the potential incorporation in Bristol. And I know there was a special board meeting on Friday night to discuss potential boundary agreements and agreements with Bristol. I think it's good to have these discussions. I would hope that as much of this very important discussion is held in as much light of public scrutiny as possible. And I say that because these are very important things. We certainly want the village of Pleasant Prairie to look out for the village's interests. That's one of the primary things I think that has to be done. But also, these are some very tough times as well for Bristol. These are issues that are very near and dear to them, and anyone who's been through the process probably knows that there's two things floating around there. Number one, a desire to maintain on the part of some people the community as it now exists, and also the understanding on the part of others that there are certain constraints which make it difficult for them to balance the both, so to speak, and so there may need to be some adjustments made. I do not know, and I don't have complete confidence that a petition for incorporation will succeed there. Certainly, there's a number of things that the Department of Administration and Review Board does look at in incorporation. It's not an easy process. And I would hope, though, that any discussion that's had, number one, is done with as much public scrutiny as possible in the light of day, just because we can go into closed sessions doesn't necessarily mean that we always have to. And also that there's enough lead time to have adequate public consideration of any agreements. certainly 7 weeks at a minimum, just because of the fact that I think people in the communities are so significant and often permanent decisions that one would hope that one would be able to have a consensus, kick the tires, see whether or not there's things that need to be changed, and do this at a period of time when people can walk away and say, you know, we've had a chance to look at this, to examine this, and to be heard. It's a very, very significant time for this area, and certainly one would hope that a good agreement can be reached that is mutually beneficial to everyone. But I also hope that we do it with as much light of day as possible. Thank you.
Board Feb, Senior.
Bob Babcock, 11336 Lake Shore Drive. Item I'd like to bring up is for the village to take a very strong look at and put on the agenda in the very near future, and that would be the televising of the board meetings. Our current lieutenant governor, as well as the previous lieutenant governor, are strongly in favor of this being done. They feel it would be a way to encourage the public and introduce them to the legislators and see where they stand on all the various issues. And it was also brought up of having the high school do this as a service project, and she feels that's an interesting comment, and that I should bring it up to the local legislator. So Representative Steinbrink, I'll bring it up to you to look into having maybe the high school do this as a project. It would be a good way for them to learn their trade and various classes that they have, and also to see exactly how city government and government overall operates. Thank you.
Other scientists.
Anyone else wish to speak from citizen comments? Yes, sir.
Alex Canabach, 8757 Lakeshore Drive. I wasn't planning on commenting at all, but after Mr. Babcock made his comments, I endorse his recommendation. As you can see, I've been doing this for 4 months now, and it's technically very feasible. I believe the village owns more than enough equipment to get the job done. I delivered a copy of one of the past meetings to Jane on a DVD. It can be put in any of the variety of machines that we use to insert video onto channel 25. It can be easily done. I think it's proven that it's not technically difficult. Audio could be very easily enhanced, and this is a service, as Mr. Babcock said, that I think the citizens deserve. And it shouldn't be, one guy and a couple of friends helping out occasionally doing this. It's not anything unusual for a village or any municipality of this nature and this size and this growth, and even issues like what we're discussing tonight about the orchards subdivision, access in and out. I think there's plenty of neighbors immediately around there that aren't here tonight that would like to see that stuff. They may read about it in the paper tomorrow, and they're going to say, I wish I was there. This gives them a chance to be here, in effect. And I truly hope that this board follows up on it.
Anyone else wish to speak from citizens' comments? Hearing none, I'll close citizen comments. Any responsible board members? Clyde?
If I can address Dick Jankowski's comments about the debt. I think I do refer to some debt as good debt. And maybe a better comment would be investment grade debt. Might be better. We did have 4 issues come before us last meeting regarding the bonding. Unfortunately, the news article following and others have pushed saying it was $100 million without mentioning the slide, and probably one of the most significant slides that followed that, and that was what the debt was all about. $51 million was belonging to the TIDs, that's paid through TID revenue. $38 million is through the Reclex, sewer, water,